passed a short-term spending bill Thursday to prevent a government shutdown as Republicans attempt to reach a budget bill with Democrats by the end of the year. Senators approved the bill by a vote of 81 to 14 an hour after the House passed it on a vote of 235 to 193, keeping the federal government open through December 22nd. Representative Mike Simpson of Idaho said a vote against the resolution is a vote to shut down the government, while admitting a short-term funding measure is not ideal. President Donald Trump met with Speaker Paul Ryan of Wisconsin, Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell of Kentucky, House Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi of California, and Senate Democrat leader Chuck Schumer of New York in hopes of pushing forward negotiations on a 2-year budget deal. Pelosi and other Democrats have stressed including deportation relief for Dreamers, recipients of the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrival program, in their negotiations. She said, "We will not leave here without a DACA fix." Trump was expected to encourage congressional leaders to keep anything related to DACA out of a budget negotiation while pushing to increase defense spending without boosting non-defense funding, and convince Democrats to agree to his border wall. Trump said, "We hope that we're going to make some great progress for our country. I think this will happen." 2 Florida Republicans said they would vote against any year-end spending bill that did not include an immigration deal. Schumer said those demands were unlikely and a shutdown would reflect poorly on Trump and Republicans. Bitcoin Not Bombs is a launching pad for nonprofits and social entrepreneurs into the financial freedom of the Bitcoin economy. Bitcoin Not Bombs offers premium publicity campaigns designed to facilitate an organization's adoption of Bitcoin as a payment system and to fully capitalize on that decision in their fundraising efforts. Bitcoin Not Bombs is fully committed to being the hub of the nonprofit sector of the Bitcoin economy, maximizing the potential cross-promotion of all our clients and commercial partners. To learn more, visit bitcoinnotbombs.com. Reuters reports a federal judge on Thursday sentenced Larry Nassar, the former USA Gymnastics team doctor accused of sexually assaulting gymnasts, to 60 years in prison on federal child porn charges that grew out of a sex abuse investigation. U.S. District Judge Janet Neff in Grand Rapids, Michigan, handed down the sentence sought by prosecutors who said there was a link between Nassar's child pornography and his prolific molestation of children, according to court documents. Neff said he has demonstrated that he should never again have access to children. Nassar's attorney, Matt Newberg, said he was devastated and remorseful. Nassar pled guilty in July to possessing thousands of images and video of child pornography depicting children as young as infants between 2003 and 2016. Nassar is also set to be sentenced in January in Michigan courts after pleading guilty to additional counts of criminal sexual conduct related to allegations he assaulted girls under the guise of medical treatment. At that hearing, all of the more than 120 victims or their parents will be allowed to give impact statements. Nassar is likely to spend the remainder of his life in prison. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
Like most married couples, Dale and Barbara Patterson like to shake things up from time to time. The couple of 12 years says they've been able to keep their relationship spontaneous and interesting by bickering in all sorts of different positions and even different rooms.
There was a while there when our petty nitpicking got pretty predictable. Dale would finish harping on some stupid bullshit first, and before I had time to get a word in, he would just let out a groan, roll over, and fall asleep. Now he really takes his time ripping me a new one over every little thing.
Maybe we'll just pounce on each other the second we get home from work in the evening. And then just go right back at it in the morning. I mean, sometimes we'll look at each other directly in the eyes when we're having an argument. Other times she turns her back on me and I just scream at her from behind.
We're not exactly shy about doing it in public anymore. Dale gets pretty worked up when there are people around who could be watching or listening.
I still can't believe you forgot.
Not now.
Oh, come on.
I said not now.
Oh,
what?
Don't even.
Don't even what? I asked.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live. You may dial toll-free to join us here. Our number is 855-450-FREE like freedom. That's 855-450-3733 as we kick off the first hour of the live Sunday edition of the program with you here tonight. You've got Ian,
Johnny Ray,
and Mark. Of course, you can bring up anything you want. Coming up, we've got the latest chapter in economics in one lesson, as we've been going through chapter by chapter over probably like the last year, basically, of the show. And we're finally getting down towards the final last 2-3 chapters here. And there was a big one on inflation, which we can talk about coming up here tonight. And, of course, you're welcome to take control of the airwaves. Again, our toll-free number is 855-450, free like freedom. Star Wars is getting ready to open, I believe, this week, correct?
Yep.
A lot of people obviously hyped up and excited about that. Of course, you're welcome to comment on anything that's on your mind. But let's start with something from... Where is your story from, by the way? It's talking about Portugal, Mark, but what's the source?
TheGuardian.co.
Excellent.
Excuse me, Guardian.com. Excuse me.
We don't know where .co will take you.
And I'm sorry to anybody who's already entered that in, whatever it is. When the drugs came, they hit all at once. It was the 80s, and by the time 1 in 10 people had slipped into the depths of heroin use, bankers, university students, carpenters, socialites, miners, Portugal was in a state of panic. Alvaro Pereira, pardon me, anybody from Portugal, was working as a family doctor in Aloha, in southern Portugal. People were injecting themselves in the street, in public squares and gardens, he told me. At the time, not a day passed when there wasn't a robbery at a local business or a mugging. The crisis began in the south. The 80s were a prosperous time in Olhawa, a fishing town 31 miles west of the Spanish border.
How different is Portuguese from Spanish?
Yeah. They have the same basis, but there's a difference.
Okay. All right. Because you speak Spanish pretty well.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no tildes above A's in Spanish,
Gotcha.
So I don't know what I'm dealing with here.
Got it.
Anyway. Coastal waters filled fishermen's nets from the Gulf of Cadiz to Morocco. Tourism was growing and currency flowed through the southern Algarve region. But by the end of the decade, heroin began washing up on Aloho's, I'm just going to go with that, shores. Overnight, Pereira's beloved slice of Algarve coast became one of the drug capitals of Europe. 1 in every 100 Portuguese was battling a problematic heroin addiction at the time, but the number was even higher in the south. Headlines in the local press raised alarm about overdose deaths and rising crime. The rate of HIV infection in Portugal became the highest in the European Union.
Yikes.
Pereira recalled desperate patients and families beating a path to his door, terrified, bewildered, begging for help. I got involved, he said, only because I was ignorant. In truth, there was a lot of ignorance back then. 40 years of authoritarian rule under the regime established by Antonio Salazar in 1933 had suppressed education, weakened institutions, and lowered the school leaving age in a strategy intended to keep the population docile. The country was closed to the outside world. People missed out on the experimentation and mind-expanding culture of the 1960s. When the regime ended abruptly in a military coup in 1974, Portugal was suddenly open to new markets and influences. Under the old regime, Coca-Cola was banned, and owning a cigarette lighter required a license.
Wow.
When marijuana and then heroin began flooding in, the country was utterly unprepared. Pereira tackled the growing wave of addiction the only way he knew how, one patient at a time. A student in her 20s was still lived with her parents, might have her family involved in her recovery. A middle-aged man, estranged from his wife, living on the street, faced different risks and needed different kind of support. Pereira improvised, calling on institutions and individuals in the community to lend a hand. 2001, nearly 2 decades into Pereira's accidental specialization in addiction, Portugal became the first country to decriminalize the possession and consumption of all illicit substances.
Right.
So, America, if your town, county, section of the state, or whatever is racked by a heroin problem,
listen up.
You're not the first.
Yep.
Portugal decriminalized everything from marijuana.
Personal amounts.
Yeah,
of
personal
everything.
amounts. Well, everything was decriminalized because but that doesn't mean that everything is legal.
Did they also decriminalize larger amounts as well?
Well,
in a lot of cases they will when they're doing a decriminalization package.
If you decriminalize small amounts of heroin, you have decriminalized heroin. Does that make sense?
I see what you're saying.
So there you
but
go.
somebody's still got to deal it. So sometimes decrim comes with lowering felonies to misdemeanors as well. But in this case, we're talking about lowering whatever their equivalent of a misdemeanor or an arrestable jailable offense down to basically a ticket. We actually looked into this recently on the show. I think it was a ticket that would allow the police, they would still confiscate the product. So, I mean, it wasn't like they were just going to cut you loose with the drugs, but you wouldn't go to jail over it.
Is that in Portugal?
That was in Portugal. Okay. And then
they're
also
describing it right here.
Yeah.
So rather than being arrested, those caught with a personal supply might be given a warning, a small fine, or told to appear before a local commission, a doctor, a lawyer, and
Drug
a social
court,
worker
basically,
about treatment, harm reduction, and the support services that were available to them. The opioid crisis soon stabilized.
Not only that, it turned around because Portugal has far fewer addicts today than it ever has.
Right. Well, this was soon. Like, if you want results
immediately,
soon.
You're saying immediately after they made the political change of decriminalization.
Right. I just want to know. I mean, Mr. and Mrs. America out there, it's not like we haven't been dealing with a heroin and opioid crisis going on for, at this point, a couple of decades. It's getting worse and worse. Do you want what you've already got, or do you want something different? Because I know how to get what you've already got. Keep supporting the same crap and same stupid politicians. If you want something different, you need to do something different.
I was just going to say, I read today that New Hampshire is, quote, ground zero for the opioid crisis in the U.S. And
it's definitely one of the top places.
Where'd you read it?
You know, I don't remember, Mark.
Sounds like a local thing to say as opposed to a national thing to say.
It's one of the top three, I think.
One of the Rust... I mean, I would have expected Rust Belt
People
places.
are bored.
Yeah.
I had assumed that... I hadn't realized that New Hampshire had a special place in the story until today. But I had my own theories about it. At first, it was just that Big Pharma and their pain management products had created an addiction on the part of many Americans with painkillers.
It absolutely has. That's the way a lot of people get into taking heroin.
Is that Rush Limbaugh got into it?
According to the people that... Well, I don't think Rush ever got to heroin, but he was doing the equivalent of it in the form of these painkillers.
Yeah.
Right.
But that doesn't explain why New Hampshire is special. And I had also begun to wonder if the U.S. occupation of Afghanistan and the freeing up of heroin for the European market had made it more available to everybody all over the world, and that's why we were seeing what we were seeing in the U.S. But again, that doesn't explain why New Hampshire is special. So I hadn't figured that part out yet.
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, New Hampshire hasn't it always been one of the most drinkingest states? Not necessarily
and
number one.
Yeah.
So people up in New Hampshire seem to like to get high. I mean,
okay.
I mean,
maybe they hate their lives or something. I don't know.
I think you find that the colder the place is, the more likely they're going to have an issue with substance abuse.
You think so?
Generally, well, yeah.
There's not a problem in the South with substance abuse.
I'd like to look at the numbers, but I've heard Minnesota and Wisconsin are way into beer. I've heard Alaska, people are dropping like flies there from drug use and suicide.
Is that right?
I know that the northern areas of Canada where they're getting the midnight sun and times when the sun doesn't even rise. Yeah, I mean, alcohol's illegal up there.
Really?
It's such a problem.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, when it's cold outside, people don't have anything to do. They're going to get their entertainment somehow.
I see what you're saying. Toll-free number tonight if you want to join us, 855-450 free. More about Portugal.
Yeah.
Coming up here.
Not cold in Portugal.
Coming up here in moments. Our toll-free number is 855-450 free like freedom. It's the live Sunday edition of the show. If you want to comment on drug addiction and solutions. Solution in this case involves eliminating the war on drugs or ratcheting it back as far as possible. There's more coming up. If you want to join us, 855-450 free.
The young lady from the rescue delivered happy, and I panicked. He was missing hair, stinky, scabby, and I thought, what did I get us into? The cause of his issue was poor nutrition. It was neglect. The other owners didn't care enough about him to give him the nutrition he needed. But I have a vet that I trust, and she recommended Dinovite, DINOVITE.com. I ordered the first 90-day supply, and within a couple weeks, his skin started clearing up. He didn't smell. He had more energy. He just had a glow and a bounce about him. We've been using Dinovite for the last year, and Happy the rescue dog is Happy the healthy dog. I tell all my friends who have rescues to give their dog the chance at a new start with Dinovite. It's going to pay off for you and your dog for years to come.
859-428-1000.
859-428-1000. DINOVITE.com.
I got my Blink home security system delivered right to my door. I downloaded the app and it walked me right through the easy setup. Even with my complicated router system, I was done in like 10 minutes. Now it notifies me whenever something moves in front of the wireless cameras, or I can just check it whenever I want right from my phone. And I got you a deal. Get 3 Blink cams for what the other guys charge you for 1, plus an extra 10% off. Visit blinkprotect.com/FTL. blinkprotect.com/FTL. blinkprotect.com/FTL.
Dash is digital cash, a digital currency designed to replace cash and help people manage their own wealth. It's fast and easy, fees are low, and transactions are confirmed instantly. Pay anyone, anywhere in the world, anytime for just pennies on the dollar. Dash is the first digital money that's governed by its users. Join Dash at dash.org and help build a better financial system for everyone. Find out more at dash.org.
I just heard the best sales pitch I've heard in a long time on an airplane. The flight attendant announced, "If you paid more than $75 for your round-trip ticket, you overpaid." This is brilliant because everybody on the flight paid more, and I was struck by how all the road warriors stopped typing and reading and working and looked up. The announcement invited us to apply for the airline's credit card, and the sign-up bonus, enough frequent flyer miles for a free round trip. Talk about turning lemons into lemonade. With some banks offering free credit cards, $75 is an outrage for an annual fee, but a bargain for airline tickets. For more tips on communicating more effectively, hit survivalspeech.com, where you can see how I got the CEO of another major airline to shower me with freebies. I'm Holland Cook.
The 3 most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share 1 episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. It's my firm belief that Free Talk Live's AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented organizations. Support all the organizations you love, but make sure you give $5 a month to AMP at amp.freetalklive.com.
When you hear the word lobbyist, you probably think about greedy corporations, but not all lobbyists are the same. Some are fighting for the freedoms you hold dear. Liberty Lobby LLC is doing just that in New Hampshire, working hard to represent you, not some special interest group. You can help by going to libertylobby.info, where your contribution will give us the tools we need to ensure that your voice is heard. Visit libertylobby.info today to find out more.
You can connect with the Liberty Radio Network via our Facebook page at facebook.lrn.fm. That's facebook.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live, the live Sunday edition of the show. We invite you to join us on the radio, take control of those airwaves at 855-450, free like freedom. It's 855-450-3733. Joining you in the studio tonight, it's Ian,
Johnny Ray,
and Mark.
Anarchapulco is making anarchy great again. It's happening for the 4th year at the Princess Resort in Acapulco, Mexico. Although it's the first year at the Princess Resort. It's going to be a beautiful venue. I believe it is right there on the beach. I'll have to double check that because I'm only going by the photo of the thing, and I'm pretty sure I visited it while I was there last year. February 15th through the 18th, that's when the main event is happening at Anarchapulco. The main event includes all kinds of speeches and presentations by folks like Jeffrey Tucker, Roger Ver, Larkin Rose, Jeff Berwick, G. Edward Griffin, Bruce Fenton, Brett Venat, Julia Taransky, Dana Martin, Juan Galt, Adam Kokesh, Kerry Whittler, Vit Yadlika, who we still haven't met yet, have we?
What?
No? Do we meet him?
You don't remember meeting Vit Yadlika?
Where do we meet him at? You met him out in Vegas.
I've met him a few times at this point.
Yeah, I don't think I met him yet.
No?
Anyways, we didn't have him on the show last. He was supposed to be there last year, but he came and went real fast, and we weren't able to interview him.
Jeez, buddy, I'm really sorry. I
there.
thought that we'd have had him on multiple times at this point, but
I don't think
must
I don't
be
think
just the
he's been
Edgington
on
Post.
No, I don't think he's been on Free Talk Live. Anyway, Sterling Lujan also is going to be there from Bitcoin.com. They'll have live music, Jordan Page, Backwards, Rob Hustle, and more. It's all happening February 15th through the 18th. Great event. I was really glad to finally get to go to last year's. Finally got around to getting a passport, and it was worth the hassle because it really was a lot of fun. Anarchapulco.com. You can go there and get your tickets using code FTL, like Free Talk Live, to get 10% off your tickets at anarchapulco.com. Mark, you're sharing with us a piece about the past and present in Portugal as far as the war on drugs, the difficulty they had with opiates like heroin back in the 1980s, that when they put into play, I think it was 2001 is what you said it was, they did a decriminalization of possession of small amounts of any drug, which would result in generally not an arrest, but perhaps a ticketing, perhaps a warning, definitely likely a confiscation of the drugs, and then usually sending somebody to some kind of a treatment panel.
Yep.
So they could assess them.
The opioid crisis soon stabilized, and the ensuing years saw dramatic drops in problematic drug use, HIV and hepatitis infection rates, overdose deaths, drug-related crime, and incarceration rates.
Isn't that what people want?
It is. But what they also want is for people to be punished.
Yeah.
You've done something that I disagree with, to prison with you. I find that people are so married to the notion of prison that they would that they'll cut off their nose to spite their face. They'll suffer whatever the consequences are in order to stick with their form of punishment.
Is that because they got punished when they were a kid and they believed that it was effective? Like, my parents made me go to my room and I was better after that. So therefore, prison would work.
I think that people realize that consequences to actions, the consequences have changed their behavior in the past, right?
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
And it, consequences will change behavior, but it doesn't always work. And it doesn't, just because you give consequences, artificial consequences, because I think everybody would agree that making drugs illegal is new artificial consequences.
Sure, there already were consequences to abusing drugs.
Right. And, doing that has a whole variety of effects that people just simply don't want to acknowledge. And if we can say, looks like other people have had the same problems we've got, and they've applied different solutions than what we've applied, and they've had better results.
Yeah.
Let's try those things.
Yeah. Why not?
I think that people don't want to spend money on social programs. Which I understand.
They're already spending money on putting people in prison.
Right. But prison, is the final social program, and people are willing to do that.
But it's very expensive.
It is. It's much more expensive than if...
It's a lot more expensive than letting somebody stay out, have a job, and check in with a treatment clinic or something.
Right. So the liberals would say you'll spend less money if you spend less money on prisons, less money generally, and less money on prisons if you spend more money on midnight basketball and all these other social programs that keep people out of trouble and these kinds of things.
It doesn't have to be either or, though. It could just simply be get the government out of the war on drugs and then let the market take care of people. Let charities and people who actually care, rather than a bunch of bureaucrats being administrated by, some other bureaucrats or politicians.
Right. The libertarian will say, get the government out of the problem and then let churches and charities and social groups begin to solve it. Wouldn't the Lions Club really like to sponsor a midnight basketball program in your area? I bet they would if they realized that, this is going to be a solution to a problem. All we have to do is present the studies to them that this works, and then you'll find these organizations are ready to step up and do what it takes.
Yeah, I would think that a private organization would be more likely to pay attention, especially if you were a contributor, a donator to that organization, and they wanted to take you seriously.
Yep.
Whereas the government, you can present all the studies you want, as long as the cops come in there and say that marijuana puts hair on your palms or whatever, whatever drug war tried and true falsehoods they trot out. makes you grow breasts as a man, all that crap.
The drug war puts money in the cops' pockets. Yeah. That's the reality of it. The drug war benefits very, very few people. Those people are the correctional officer union,
That's right.
the police officer union, the government bureaucracy, generally government, organized crime.
Drug testing companies.
Drug testing companies. All right, that's there. I'm running out of it.
It's a small group.
I think that some people probably go to alcohol rather than using other drugs. So you'll find that the alcohol companies probably would be against legalization of other drugs because they're a drug too.
Yes.
That's about it. It doesn't help you and me because right here in black and white, studies show, and we've done this over and over again. This is a new study. This is a new article
about an old policy that's now been in place for 15 plus years.
Right. We knew what this was going to say when I saw the words of the title. Right. It didn't surprise me for one instant.
But there is somebody out there
lots and lots of people who are listening right now who believe that, oh my God, if we legalized heroin, for instance, I'm not talking about marijuana. Let's go all the way and talk about real drug legalization here. If you legalized heroin, that people are going to be robbing us in the street. We're all going to get knifed by heroin addicts.
That's what they want you to believe.
The opposite is true. That when the government makes drugs illegal, it drives up the pricing. When the prices are high, you can no longer work at some menial job and make enough money to buy the drug to which you're addicted. Because there are plenty of people that work menial jobs and manage to
grab a six-pack on the way home every night.
Yeah, maintain an alcohol addiction.
Sure.
Because alcohol isn't that expensive. You can certainly pay more if you want. And marijuana, I don't know if there's some people with addictive personalities.
Cigarettes,
are probably
caffeine. I mean, these are things that people maintain a habit every single day.
Right.
Another way that the drug war benefits the police and the correctional officers is it gives them an entree into the market themselves. They know that the drugs are going to be sold, and they know that they're not going to stop it. So often they take it and they sell it.
Can't blame them for it.
It does happen.
The toll-free number here is 855-450, free like freedom, 855-450-3733. More about the success of total drug decriminalization coming up.
If you or someone you care about loves outdoor adventure, then check out slingbow.com for some unique holiday gift ideas. That's slingbow.com, where we have some innovative new products for the archer, hunter, or bow fishing enthusiast in your family. Now through January, use the promo code HOLIDAY to get free shipping in the U.S. or Canada. And from all of us at Slingbow Industries, have a safe, joyous, and peaceful holiday season.
Want revenge on the common housefly? Well, after 10,000 years, someone has finally come up with a better way. The Bug Assault, a miniaturized shotgun, which utilizes ordinary table salt as ammunition. Non-toxic and no batteries required. So much fun, you'll forget you have a wife and kids. $39.95 and free economy shipping. Use discount code GCN and get an extra 10% off your purchase at bugassault.com. Makes the perfect stocking stuffer. Get your Bug Assault today.
Free Talk Live, the show where anyone can call about whatever they want. And we do mean anyone.
Homeland Security teaching the Boy Scouts of America to do black ops missions and destroy disgruntled veterans returning.
Did you just say that they are training the Boy Scouts to do black op missions?
Of course they are. There's funding from the Department of Homeland Security. There's grants and
Wait, what kind of black ops are we talking about here? Just like spying on the neighbors, seeing if they're putting their recycling in the wrong bin, or what?
It goes deeper than that. To teach the 12 and 13, 14-year-olds how to do paintball stuff, and the target is supposedly disgruntled veterans.
What?
They're preparing them to take on returning veterans that have been labeled disgruntled. That's part of the indoctrination.
They're preparing the Boy Scouts to take them on, like what, in a firefight? To hand-to-hand combat?
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern. Live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Hi, this is Mark Edge of Free Talk Live. Michael W. Dean's book, User's Manual for the Human Experience, changed my life. In a culture that attempts to turn you into a compliant victim, this book gives you implementable steps on everything from how to be aware of your environment, walking down the street, to business, to how to handle a toxic person in your life. If you're a human, you need to read this book at least once. Go to Amazon and get the Kindle version, or paperback, or an audiobook of A User's Manual for the Human Experience.
Did you know you can watch Free Talk Live during our live show 7 days a week from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern via our studio cams at cam.freetalklive.com? Plus, you can chat with other listeners while you watch, all totally free. Now that our live video stream is hosted by YouTube, our video archives will be online even faster. So be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Listen, watch, and chat all free at cam.freetalklive.com. That's cam.freetalklive.com. Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip-in on the right side of the page at lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. You may dial toll-free. Join us on the radio here, live Sunday edition of the show. The number is 855-450-FREE like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. And we've got Skype, so feel free to Skype on in here at Skype username LRN.FM. If you want to help build a better financial system for everyone, join Dash. Dash is digital cash. It's a digital money platform designed to replace cash and help people manage their own wealth. Mark, you bought your drink tonight that you had in the studio with Dash.
Yep, just threw it away. Yeah.
Downtown Keene tonight. What was the fee? Do you remember? Was it
2
even
cents.
Noticeable? Yeah, so very, very low, very quick, low fees, quick transactions, and you can even confirm them instantly if you want. You can pay anyone, anywhere in the world, anytime for just pennies on the dollar. Dash is decentralized and run by users who earn rewards for helping run the network and make governance decisions. Anyone can invest in Dash and earn rewards for helping run the Dash network. So join Dash and help create a better financial system for everyone. Take back control over your financial future today and find out more at Dash.org. There's a lot of momentum behind Dash right now. Go to Dash.org and find out why. As we continue here, Mark's been sharing with us an interesting story from The Guardian about Portugal and their experiment, which I would call an ongoing success at this point. I mean, can we stop calling it an experiment at this point? I mean, this is proof in real life that this works. Proof of concept that decriminalizing drugs, in this case, not just cannabis, but all drugs, heroin, crack cocaine, LSD, you name it, whatever it is decriminalized in small personal amounts in Portugal, and it has been since 2001. Immediately staving off the increase in new addictions and then reversing the trend of addiction to the point where I believe after about a decade, addictions had dropped by 40%. And that's not because people had died due to their habits. That's because they were able to get help without fear of a cage.
Yeah, I'd like to know, this is the question to the listeners. Is there an instance that you can tell me about? And I'm not talking about a one-off, one person that you knew about or whatever. But I'm talking about, can you sort of point me to a particular vice that has been helped, where the situation's been helped by prohibition? And
no one can answer that question.
I think I could come up with one.
What?
Prior to prohibition of alcohol, people drank beer all the time in the United States. Like, they really drank. They would drink beer, some kind of watered down beer for breakfast, and then beer all day.
Wow. Well, beer was probably safer than water.
That's the reason. But maybe not at the time. But we'd certainly those people's grandparents and great grandparents had grown up in a world where beer was safer than water.
Wow.
Like you had to treat water in some way.
Right, like in the Westerns, they're always drinking.
What's that?
In like Westerns, they're always drinking constantly.
And
my God. How did anything get done? Everybody was always drunk.
There was, if you listen to the prohibitionists, the temperance movement and that sort of thing, way too many men were essentially spending way too much time after work at the bars. Then they'd, wake up with incredible hangovers. They would then not go to work. They would, get up at noon or whatever and then, make it to the bar for some hair of the dog and that kind of thing. Prohibition.
That's because they had to go home to the haggard, angry wife who was...
You'd be angry too if this was your situation where women culturally didn't drink and men culturally did, and then you were catching all the slack and getting none of the pay, right? These ladies are waiting for the paycheck to come home and it's not coming home as well.
I see.
It may be that prohibition, the claim is that prohibition broke the overall alcohol addiction that the nation had. And then the reintroduction of it had negative consequences in the sense that people had then adopted liquor as opposed to beer.
Because liquor was easy to transport compared to beer. You can get more alcohol content in a smaller space, and so that became very popular during Prohibition.
So I can't answer the specifics on that, but that's the closest I can come to an example of how Prohibition has worked when it came to a vice.
Yeah, but I don't know if I buy it. I mean, what's the evidence besides just out claims?
Ken Burns' PBS trilogy.
Okay, but I'm just curious to know, how do you really know? Because if a bunch of people started drinking hard liquor to replace their beer habit, that sounds to me like things got worse.
Maybe it drove it down to the addicts as opposed to from a societal level would be the.
I mean, how many people today drink? It's probably 90+% of Americans.
Yep.
So I don't know if I buy it.
Yeah, and we don't have a double blind. We don't have a situation where
you can't compare apples to apples.
We're comparing apples to apples, where sort of one America prohibits alcohol and another America doesn't, and which one comes out better as a result.
Now, cigarettes haven't been prohibited, but they are definitely, as far as I understand, being used less, and a lot of people attribute that not to the laws that surround it, but to educational campaigns.
I would look at the taxes, too. I mean, people are probably quitting cigarettes because they're just so darned expensive.
I wonder about that. I mean, that's the reason why you stopped a few years back, right?
Sort of. I refused to support the war machine. I understand that money's fungible and that Barack Obama's institution of a cigar tax, then I refused to any longer smoke cigars. The whole vaporizing thing really hadn't become a thing in 2009 when I quit. Otherwise, I probably would have switched over to that. But nonetheless, I just quit. I took Chantix and quit.
I don't think that taxes have much to do with it. I think that's why the reason that nicotine or tobacco is such a popular target for taxation is precisely because people do not...
They keep spending.
Yeah, people don't change their habits.
There's probably a very small portion. There's probably a very small... Mark, you're probably 0.5% or something like that of very unusual people who will actually decide to quit a habit because of its cost going up.
Well, if you tax it enough, then people are going to find ways around the taxes.
They'll go underground.
Yeah.
Right. And that was for sort of an idiosyncratic interpretation of quitting because of taxes. Most people who are quitting because of taxes are quitting because they don't want to pay the taxes, they don't want the money, they don't want to lose the money, not because they don't want to support the war machine.
It doesn't look like the drop in cigarette smoking is as much as I thought it had been. The percentage of U.S. adults who smoke cigarettes is 17.8% in 2013, a drop from 20.9% in 2005. So in a little less than 10 years, you see it going from about 21% to 18%. That's 3% drop. I would have expected a bit more than that, right? But then again, this isn't up to date.
But yeah, and I think if you push the numbers back to the 60s or the 70s, you'll see a much greater drop in the number of smokers. And there's no way of knowing really what it is that did it, but I think it's more likely that it's simply that people just started waking up to exactly what cigarettes could do to them.
And I would never go on the record as saying that government force you can't be used in a sort of positive way. But once you do that, then you are saying that government can then use force against people who are willingly choosing something. So when you say that they can do it against cigarette smokers, they can do it against alcohol users and caffeine users and anybody. Yeah. So what I would instead ask is it possible to get nearly as good a result without employing government force?
I say yes, and it's more moral that way as well.
And when you do things like throw somebody in jail for them doing something that basically is hurting no one but themselves, that's, of course, not entirely true, but it's essentially true. When that happens to somebody, they lose respect for the law.
Sometimes. I will give you an example that sort of backs the whole authoritarian argument. An ex-girlfriend of mine was doing opiates, and she got caught. She got arrested. She went to jail, and she says that saved her life.
So speaking as a middle-class guy who went to jail, I think jail works really well on middle-class, upper-middle-class, upper-class people because they have the foundations of sort of law-abiding behavior, whereas the poor people, it just doesn't seem to work on nearly as well.
We're going to continue here in moments. You can share your thoughts with us on Prohibition. 855-450, free like freedom. It's Free Talk Live.
Whether you share content as a curator or produce it as a creator, the source of your advertising revenue is often limited by intermediaries like YouTube. What if there was a way to connect content creators directly with advertisers, decentralizing attention-based market advertising transactions and putting the control back into the hands of content owners? Introducing the revolutionary Signal Token Protocol by Spective VR. Partnered with Blend Media, the largest network of 360 video content in the world, and featured on Fox Business's Innovations, Spective VR is a 360 VR streaming platform created to be the first use case and early adopter of the Signal Token Protocol, driving real use and allowing Spective to optimize their platform. SpectiveVR.com is hosting a pre-ICO for Signal tokens starting December 8th at a 40% bonus. For early access to the token sale and an exclusive 60% token bonus, sign up for the email list at SpectiveVR.com.
Guys, wouldn't your wife or girlfriend love it if you treated her to the very best this Christmas? Well, you can, and you don't even have to go out of your way. We're talking about the world's softest pajamas, available exclusively at Pajamagram.com. That's Pajamagram.com. Created by a team of dedicated pajama experts, the world's softest pajamas are lighter than a cloud, softer than a bunny, like cashmere, only better. She'll love the way the world's softest pajamas feel, and you'll love the way they look. More than a gift, they're a feeling, an invitation to relax a little longer. The world's softest pajamas are available only at Pajamagram.com. Visit today and give her a gift that keeps on giving, to both of you. Plus, you don't even have to wrap, because every Pajamagram includes free gift packaging, and Christmas delivery is guaranteed. So visit Pajamagram.com or call 1-800-GIVE-PJs.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
George, you can go this way. You can't do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring signs into the rally.
Walk with me.
Well, I'm comfortable here, actually. Whoa, hey, who do you think you are? Excuse me.
There is no video or audio allowed in this office.
No, I have work today.
You ain't gonna make it.
Wait a minute.
Whoa. Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable!
Why are you running from me? Because you're scared me. What am I being detained for?
You're being served.
What is this?
You're being served.
What is this? Bureaucrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. Did you know we've taken our LRN.FM telephone listen line to a new level with the LRN.FM audio on demand line? Now you can call 712-770-8447 anytime and listen to LRN.FM's live feed. And you can listen to a bunch of our original shows on demand. Long distance fees may apply. Just dial 712-770-8447 and choose from the menu. 712-770-8447.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live, and you can bring up what you want. Our toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We've got Skype as well. You can head over to our Skype and connect with us there and get on the radio and sound like almost like you're sitting in the studio with us. Skype username is LRN.FM. With you in the studio tonight, it's Ian,
Johnny Ray,
and Mark.
We're talking about Portugal. We're going to get back into it here, but I do want to let you know we do have a webcam. You can watch, you can listen, and you can interact with other Free Talk Live listeners in our chat room. It's all there over at cam.freetalklive.com. That's cam.freetalklive.com. Or if you want to watch later on, you can always go and pull up archives on our YouTube channel at youtube.freetalklive.com. That'll take you right to it. As we continue here, Mark, you're sharing with us from The Guardian over in the UK an article about Portugal and how things have changed for the better, dramatically for the better, since drug decriminalization has been applied as of 2001 across the board, meaning that any possession, small amounts possession, personal amounts of any drugs is decriminalized. And that means that people can go and get help without being afraid of having to be put into a cage.
Yeah, and they're funneled sort of towards help, too, which is more of a government program than I would like to see.
I agree.
But nonetheless, this is... I would call this
results.
I would call this better, and it's instructive more than anything you're going to see coming out of the drug war. Because I'd like to hear about the great drug war victory. Tell me about that, the instance when the drug war really worked and what the long-term results are. When I hear people trumpet the drug war, they'll say, look what we did to crack cocaine. But I don't really think there was much success.
Wait. What we did to crack cocaine? You mean when they cracked down on cocaine and crack cocaine was invented?
Right. Crack cocaine is an invention of
the 1980s time when they cracked down. There was an attack focus by the police on going after cocaine.
There's no guarantee that if cocaine were legal that somebody wouldn't come up with a cheap way to make it smokable.
But it is interesting that liquor, the concentrated form of alcohol, became popular during Prohibition, and interesting that crack cocaine came about during a takedown of cocaine movers and shakers.
I would also point this out is that heroin was nearly unheard of when I was in high school. Crack cocaine was certainly heard of.
That was the thing. Yeah.
So congratulations, you got the crackheads to become meth heads and heroin addicts. I mean, I'm not sure that is we can really talk about a victory here.
No
doubt. That's the great victory of the drug war, and I think it's pretty hollow.
Let's go to your calls and thoughts here. You may have more to share from The Guardian. But we've got Gail on the line listening to KWTO in Springfield, Missouri. Go ahead, Gail. You're on Free Talk Live. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, we've got you. Go ahead.
Okay. I do not disagree with your assessment of the drug war, and I do not disagree with the new efforts that you propose to help change it. However, I do disagree vehemently with your demonization of police departments. Now, before you say anything,
Okay.
I do have family in law enforcement, okay?
Okay.
These people, and I have family also who work in fire departments.
I'm a firefighter.
People
My dad
who-
was a cop. Go ahead.
Okay. These people go out and they work under usually the most awful conditions because they usually see the worst side of people.
Sure.
Okay. They are called abusive names. They are often assaulted. We just had 2 police officers close to St. Louis who were shot and killed. And it's not even being reported anymore about how many officers are killed every day.
There aren't that many.
Yeah, the numbers of as far as on-duty deaths, especially ones from shootings, are pretty low compared to, say, roofers and fishermen and truck drivers and things like that.
But what demonization were you referring to? Because I don't think
I
anybody's-
claimed that Johnny Ray here. I said that the police in the drug war were often drug dealers themselves.
Well, that happens.
Is that what you were referring to, Gail?
Okay, let me just, I'll put what I have to say out there, and then I'll get off and let somebody else say it.
Well, we'd rather have a
You
conversation with you, but go ahead.
Okay, all right. You have human beings who are fulfilling these positions. They are the same human beings that you see every day. They are while they are held to a higher standard.
Not really.
But you are going. Well, the ones that I know are. You are going to be held. You are going.
They want you to think that they are, but ultimately they frequently, as we discussed last night on the show, get away with murder. I mean, we had a cop shoot a man down in cold blood in a hotel room hallway in Arizona, Mesa, Arizona. We talked
I think
about
manslaughter would be a better charge for
in
that.
detail last night, and he was let off on those particular charges. And we see it all the time when police they will just kill somebody in the course of their duties unnecessarily. Gail, and then we will see them be let off after getting a paid vacation. So it's not a surprise why people are frustrated with police around the country. When
I'm frustrated with departments. Okay, look, this is an issue of training. This is an issue of
they hire
management.
bad people.
It's an issue of incentive.
That has to do with the perpetration of the war on drugs, which Gail has already said she disagrees with. Right. If we just used police to enforce things like rape, robbery, murder, and all these other things, there would be far fewer of them, and the Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment wouldn't have eroded the way it has. Sure. This is an issue of the management of police and not the people who just put on the badges.
I agree with Johnny Ray. It's the incentives. They have no incentives for good customer service. Now, that's not to say that some of them won't try their best to catch a bad guy. But ultimately, whether they succeed or fail has no bearing on the amounts of funding that they receive. It does not. You're never allowed to opt out of receiving their service if you don't support what it is that they do. And I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Johnny Ray, but I suspect that was some of what the incentives you were talking about.
Yeah, that's precisely.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Excuse me. You said that you're not given the provision of opting out of their service. Excuse me. You don't have to call them if you're robbed. You don't have to call them if you're raped. You don't have to call them.
No. You misunderstand. I'm still forced to pay for their services whether I use them or not. So whether I'm happy about how bad of a job that they've done or how good of a job they've done, the amount taken out of taxes from property taxes, for instance, is always going to be the same and increase every single year. Whereas in the marketplace, when I'm offered services that I do want or don't want, I get to decide for myself. And if I decide I don't want some company's service, I don't have to pay for it. Government, and it's not just police, it's all government. It's government schools, it's, you fill in the government program. They all have these poor incentives, these backwards incentives, where in a lot of cases, if they fail, they get more money.
Excuse me again. Okay, I don't mean to interrupt.
Not interrupting.
Please.
Do you, all right, do you go to city council meetings? Do you go to school board meetings? on a regular basis?
I have, actually.
Yeah,
I don't do it.
He's one of those few people that does.
I don't do it regularly these days, but I have in the past.
Well, you're on the board of the local TV broadcast. I mean, you're more integrated into your community than most. You've done ride-alongs with police.
I have, yes. You can see that online on YouTube if you search for Keene Police Ride-Along. Thanks for the reminder. It's been about a decade. They actually stopped doing the ride-alongs after we put the ride-along video footage out, so you can't do that anymore. Not sure why they would have made that change, but they did. So, yeah, I do get involved. What was the point of your question?
Okay, the point of my question is most of what passes for bad government is because people are quite content to let other people make the rules, pass the taxes.
Yep.
They don't vote. They don't get involved. They don't educate themselves. And they do not give a rat's behind until it personally affects them.
I think that can be true for some people, but I think it's also true that a lot of people don't feel like they can change anything, that even if they do get involved, the system is so unwieldy, and I've seen this. I've seen people burn out. I've seen people get active within the system and then get burned out for the frustration of trying to change the system from the inside and basically failing at every possible place. And then having those very same officers that, are supposed to be just doing their jobs and enforcing the law actually come out to public hearings and advocate for more laws, advocate for greater punishments, advocate for more prisons and things like that. So it's not like they're just sitting behind and doing what they're told. They're coming out and advocating for more power.
Usually it's the police chief's organization or the head of the union.
Yep. Thank you for the call, Gail. I appreciate the discussion.
Thank you.
The toll-free number here is 855-450 free like freedom. We got more on the war on drugs coming up. And also, it's Star Wars week. You're welcome to talk about that, too. You can bring up anything you want on Free Talk Live. Plus, we got the book to do as well.
It's about time something new came along for better selling and buying online. And I found it.
What now, Marge?
It's buysellmakeoffer.com.
Never heard of it.
It's a brand new company. That's why you've never heard of it. It's the newest and best way to sell any products online. I did all the research.
Sell my car?
Yes.
Our home?
Yep.
My golf bag?
Your golf clubs. All of them.
How about your purse collection hoard?
Hey, now.
You said any product.
Right. I did. We get 30 days free.
Really?
Packages starting from only $9.95. And buysellmakeoffer.com will never charge item fees ever. Never. And this is cool. Listen to this. You can even use Skype or video to show your items.
That's cool.
Yes. All we have to do is go to the website, sign up, and then load our stuff to sell. I love this site.
Buysellmakeoffer.com.
Buysellmakeoffer.com. You got it?
Buysellmakeoffer.com.
Buysellmakeoffer.com. Better selling, better buying.
Radio is the most personal of mediums. I exist right now in your head. If you listen to Free Talk Live regularly, you know me. Free Talk Live is on more than 160 radio stations around the U.S. and has been downloaded on every continent around the world. Hundreds of thousands of listeners with ad packages from $600 a month to $6,000 a month. Imagine what we can do for your business, project, website, or idea. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Friday, December 8th, 2017. Silver is trading at $15.76 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,249 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at 7 cents, and the average price of Bitcoin is $16,804. Antiwar.com reports Saudi warplanes continue to pound the Yemeni capital city of Sana'a at an increased rate on Thursday, while operations on the ground appear to have shifted southwest, with pro-Saudi forces attacking coastal areas held by the Shiite Houthi movement. Reports out of the Quqqa district on the Red Sea coast of Yemen say that pro-Saudi forces have more or less entirely captured the area, which includes a town and a small fishing port. At least 25 were killed in the fighting. The district itself is of limited value, but the push is in keeping with Saudi-led efforts to conquer as much of the Yemeni coast as possible to ensure that shipments of food and medicine into the country are done more or less exclusively under their control. Fishing ports notwithstanding, the Houthi movement has only a single port at Hodeidah, which would need food and medicine imports for 15 million people in northern Yemen. A Saudi blockade, however, allows a tiny fraction of that in. For over 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. And as a Bitcoin-preferred business, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts Brokerage today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports Congress passed a short-term spending bill Thursday to prevent a government shutdown as Republicans attempt to reach a budget bill with Democrats by the end of the year. Senators approved the bill by a vote of 81-14 an hour after the House passed it on a vote of 235-193, keeping the federal government open through December 22nd. Representative Mike Simpson of Idaho said a vote against the resolution is a vote to shut down the government, while admitting a short-term funding measure is not ideal. President Donald Trump met with Speaker Paul Ryan of Wisconsin, Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell of Kentucky, House Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi of California, and Senate Democrat leader Chuck Schumer of New York in hopes of pushing forward negotiations on a 2-year budget deal. Pelosi and other Democrats have stressed including deportation relief for Dreamers, recipients of the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrival program, in their negotiations. She said, "We will not leave here without a DACA fix." Trump was expected to encourage congressional leaders to keep anything related to DACA out of a budget negotiation while pushing to increase defense spending without boosting non-defense funding, and convince Democrats to agree to his border wall. Trump said, "We hope that we're going to make some great progress for our country. I think this will happen." 2 Florida Republicans said they would vote against any year-end spending bill that did not include an immigration deal. Schumer said those demands were unlikely and a shutdown would reflect poorly on Trump and Republicans. Bitcoin Not Bombs is a launching pad for nonprofits and social entrepreneurs into the financial freedom of the Bitcoin economy. Bitcoin Not Bombs offers premium publicity campaigns designed to facilitate an organization's adoption of Bitcoin as a payment system and to fully capitalize on that decision in their fundraising efforts. Bitcoin Not Bombs is fully committed to being the hub of the nonprofit sector of the Bitcoin economy, maximizing the potential cross-promotion of all our clients and commercial partners. To learn more, visit bitcoinnotbombs.com. Reuters reports a federal judge on Thursday sentenced Larry Nassar, the former USA gymnastics team doctor accused of sexually assaulting gymnasts, to 60 years in prison on federal child porn charges that grew out of a sex abuse investigation. U.S. District Judge Janet Neff in Grand Rapids, Michigan, handed down the sentence sought by prosecutors who said there was a link between Nassar's child pornography and his prolific molestation of children, according to court documents. Neff said he has demonstrated that he should never again have access to children. Nassar's attorney, Matt Newberg, said he was devastated and remorseful. Nassar pled guilty in July to possessing thousands of images and video of child pornography depicting children as young as infants between 2003 and 2016. Nassar is also set to be sentenced in January in Michigan courts after pleading guilty to additional counts of criminal sexual conduct related to allegations he assaulted girls under the guise of medical treatment. At that hearing, all of the more than 120 victims or their parents will be allowed to give impact statements. Nassar is likely to spend the remainder of his life in prison. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
A report on obesity rates released this week by the CDC confirmed that millions of courageous Americans continue to overcome the media's persistent pressure to be thin. Researchers told reporters that while the vast majority of film and television continues to portray thin, in-shape people, over 30% of Americans remain resolved in their effort to stand up to idealized images of men and women.
Every day, people are inundated with unvarying images of slim men and women, but millions of heroic Americans continue doing their best every day to maintain BMIs of 35 or higher. These people aren't afraid to fly in the face popular culture deems acceptable and bravely eat and drink whatever they want, whenever they want.
In other news, the nation's single men announce a plan to change their bed sheets by 2019. A woman who left the room crying earlier expects to jump back into the party just like that. And a courtroom artist is clearly infatuated with the bailiff. This 2.5-minute long session of immersion therapy is finally complete. Your crippling fear of watching video news recaps should no longer be a problem. For more, keep checking theonion.com.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. We invite you here to join us on the radio, and you can take control of the airwaves. We have been talking about the story from The Guardian on the Portugal drug decriminalization that has been in effect since 2001 and has been an unqualified success from pretty much any aspect that you try to look at it. People not using drugs as often, they're not abusing them as often. The drug abusers were given help. They were able to solve their problems.
There's
more
fewer
likely.
property crimes surrounding drugs and fewer property crimes generally.
Yep.
You're seeing AIDS, AIDS
Transmissions
and
going down.
hepatitis and all these other situations getting more under control.
Right, because you can actually get new needles and not have to have drug addicts sharing needles with one another, which is a great way to stop spread of things like AIDS and hepatitis. So we can talk more because there was more, Mark, that you were going to share with us. With you in the studio tonight, by the way, it's Ian,
Johnny Ray,
and Mark.
Let's go first, though, to your phone calls and thoughts. We've got Lumpy on the line calling from Massachusetts. Go ahead, Lumpy.
Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you very much
there.
for taking my call. I appreciate where Gail is coming from. I've got a nephew who's in the military. Oh, I'm sorry. I mean the occupying force called the police. And they are kind of like an occupying force. I just heard an audio of Kelly Thomas, who was a 37-year-old homeless man who suffered from schizophrenia after being beaten to death by police for over 9 minutes. He was screaming, sorry to the cops, but they wouldn't stop. What really gets me is when he called for his father for help. Yeah. It's there are no good cops, and the reason why is, and I understand this. I was a patriot. I used to wave the flag, and I used to want to believe desperately that my country was better and we had something special. Well, it isn't like that. It's not this collectivist picture anymore. People are individuals. I talked with, every time I say there isn't all cops are bad, and people say, well, no, they're not, and they'll say, no, not true. And I'll say, yes, it's very true. And I'll give you a few reasons before I give you the real good reason. Well, it's very true because, and what makes me say that is things like the drug war, the anti-protesting, riot police, the deaths of people like Rumain Brisbane and the gentleman who was just murdered in the hallway and of the hotel the other night.
Well, that wasn't the other night. That was early 2016.
Zero accountability and no cops. There's no cops quitting in protest. None of them stop this. There's dog killings every day. They shoot people's dogs. I'd love to see the data where somebody can say, hey, where all these cases where they actually feared for their life, if there's any kind of proof that they actually had to fear for their life. And I bet you it's very slim. I don't know where it is. But, I mean, things like anti-camping laws that just target the homeless, fueling the private prison industry, policing for profit. Lawyers continue to make these laws. Maybe these cops have done some good as a cop, and they think they're one of the good guys.
I think that's true. I think there are a lot of cops who've done some good.
That is so beyond control that choosing to do so makes them just, words I can't say on the radio, by default. Now, here's the thing. They all swear an oath to uphold laws, and that means all laws. And many of which we can all agree are corrupt to some degree. You know, not all of them. Some of them are corrupt, but they uphold all laws.
But they don't actually. They in their departmental missions, it almost always gives them the out of discretion where. Yeah, they're sworn to uphold the law, but part of the system, and I think that discretion is a good thing for police to have, is that they can ignore laws if they feel so inclined. So, like, you don't see the cops going out in New Hampshire and enforcing the law that says you can't play sports on Sunday. I've never heard of the cops raiding a Little League game or whatever. I mean, it doesn't happen. So they could ignore, if they wanted to, ignore the war on drugs, but it's a big cash cow for those departments.
Right. That's right, and the prison industry, which makes criminals out of people. This is not the land of the free. You know, it doesn't matter what costume they wear. If it walks like a gang, it talks like a gang. My nephew's a cop. I love this kid. I watched him grow up. I'm his uncle. I mean, I love this kid. He beats his wife now. He's beating his children now. Where does this come from? Is he such a hero? Is he that stressed on his job? If so, why?
I imagine he is stressed on his job.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a very difficult job to do, as Gail outlined. Yeah. It's tough.
The painful truth is that it's the order follower that always bears more moral culpability than the order giver, because the order follower is the one who actually performed the action.
Right. They could put a stop to it.
Such action.
Yeah. They could just.
Yeah.
They could just stop. They could just refuse to follow the orders. But then, of course, the argument would be that somebody else would do it.
In some cases, they'd be killed. I mean, if you take this to its to the sort of argumentum take it to the absurd end, you go to the Nazis, as everyone does, and say what would happen if the guy refused to gas the Jews in the gas chamber. Well, chances are he'd end up in the gas chamber relatively quickly.
And I do remember asking Rick Van Wickler, who is the superintendent of the jail here in Cheshire County, which we like to call the Keene Spiritual Retreat. I remember asking him, Rick, what would happen if because he's an anti-drug war superintendent. He works with law enforcement against prohibition.
I don't buy that, by the way.
I buy it because I've seen him testify countless times in front of hearings at the State House, and he takes days off from work so he can go and do that. And so I said, what would happen if you just refused to put these people in prison, the ones that you're told to, the people who you have said don't belong there, who at one point he said he's had 40
and
or 50.
And he keeps them there.
Yeah, it's his job. So, he says they would put him in a prison cell if he let everybody out. So, I mean, everybody's in this for their own self-interest.
Yeah, it's sad that the consequences are what they are. It's the order following that's the pathway to every form of evil and chaos in the world. It should never be seen as a virtue by anyone who considers themselves a moral human being.
I agree.
I'll give you that, Lumpy. I'm willing to say that the most evil word, the most evil sentence that humans have ever uttered is "I was just following orders."
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah. It had to go with the Nuremberg trials. That's the thing. I understand that people don't like to think that people like to think that Adolf Hitler marched into Austria, but the truth is it was a 98% vote that put him in office. He had people believing just like Trump does, just like Obama
thought that Hitler didn't get voted in.
So
he was voted in.
What they'll usually say is that he didn't get voted in Germany.
Yeah,
right. So he didn't win the election in Germany. They came in second place, but Bismarck put him, made him chancellor. Then Austria, which was having all kinds of problems of its own, was also basically a German. It was basically a German country ethnically. Sees the success that Germany's having. They're like, why can't we have this kind of success? We'll vote to have Hitler come in. So I think that Lumpy's correct. I mean, yeah.
Lumpy, anything else you want to share? Go ahead.
I wanted to add something about the police.
I'd like to close with this, and thank you for taking my call.
Yeah.
Those who are able to see beyond the shadows and lies of their culture will never be understood, let alone believed by the masses.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a quote by Plato. Thank you, guys.
Great point. Johnny Ray, did you want to jump in while he's still on the line?
Well, I just wanted to say that you won't find a more, quote, anti-police individual. It'll be tough to find a person more so than I am, because I don't really give them any excuses. I think that they just need to be wiped
their
out.
job is paid for by stolen funds anyway.
Wiped out? I mean, what are you talking about? Are you talking about violence?
No, I'm not. What I mean by that is I want them to be replaced by consensual organizations, and I think that likely
private security.
Exactly, and I think that those organizations would be staffed by the same people, but they would have different incentives, and they would do a better job because of it.
The question is, how do we get from where we are today with these one-size-fits-all departments, monopolies being forced, where we're forced to pay for it by government coercion via taxation, to what you're talking about, where we have independent organizations that are funded voluntarily.
Stop paying them. Stop paying taxes.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. But unfortunately, most libertarians aren't even willing to take that step. Thank you for the call tonight, Lumpy. I appreciate hearing from you. We got a long ways to go before any mass stop paying of taxes ever happens. And if you try to build an organization like that parallel to the police will target it as being a competing gang, possibly.
Oh, yeah.
So what do you do then? More coming up. This is Free Talk Live.
When I get to about 3/4,
When I get down to the bottom, a couple more scoops,
it's time to place my order. Dinovite.com.
Order a 90-day supply of Dinovite for your dog this week.
We'll send you a bottle of Super Mega Fish Oil free.
Packed with omega-3, DHA, and EPA fatty acids.
Super Mega is great for your dog's immune system, healthy skin, and soft, shiny fur.
Try Super Omega Fish Oil.
Free this week at Dinovite.com.
If it's working, don't quit. DINOVITE.com.
Do you want to help build a better financial system for everyone? Join Dash. Dash is Digital Cash, a digital money platform designed to replace cash and help people manage their own wealth. It's fast and easy, fees are low, and transactions are confirmed instantly. Dash is decentralized, run by users who earn rewards for helping run the network and make governance decisions. Dash is set up to succeed where other platforms have failed. Give it a try at Dash.org. Help people take control over their financial future today. Find out more at Dash.org.
I got my Blink home security system delivered right to my door. I downloaded the app and it walked me right through the easy setup. Even with my complicated router system, I was done in like 10 minutes. Now it notifies me whenever something moves in front of the wireless cameras, or I can just check it whenever I want right from my phone. And I got you a deal. Get 3 Blink cams for what the other guys charge you for 1, plus an extra 10% off. Visit blinkprotect.com/FTL. blinkprotect.com/FTL. blinkprotect.com/FTL.
Shop online and support Free Talk Live. Every purchase you make at shop.freetalklive.com helps spread a message of liberty. From shop.freetalklive.com, you can shop at places like Walmart, Newegg, Amazon UK, Amazon Canada, Omaha Steaks, HostGator, and more. Plus, you can get discounts on web hosting, legal documents, or pretty much anything using saveatpurse.com. Just bookmark the link and help Free Talk Live while shopping online. Thank you for shopping with shop.freetalklive.com. Free Press Publications is an independent, alternative media and publishing company founded in June 2009 with the mission of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement and is committed to spreading the message of peace, freedom, love, and liberty. FPP also gives new authors an avenue for publishing freedom-oriented material. FPP brings you daily news and commentary on the website fpp.cc, as well as a daily 5-minute newscast, FPP Radio News, and weekly news, views, and commentary in the FPP Freedom Minute and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio at fppradio.com, and the monthly newspaper FPP News at news.fpp.cc. Find FPP online at fpp.cc. That's fpp.cc, as in Creative Commons.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that 1/10 of a calorie it takes to click on something. Facebook.freetalklive.com.
This Your Family Today tip is brought to you by Nestle Pure Life Water, helping you drink better and live better by providing a zero-calorie alternative to sugary drinks. Visit us at nestle-purelife.us. When kids are playing, they often don't want to stop to keep hydrated. So send them out with a bottle of water and encourage them to take frequent drink breaks or call them inside for a quick sip. For more tips like these, visit us at parenthood.com/yourfamilytoday.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
It's Free Talk Live, and you can bring up what you want. Just dial in toll-free here at 855-450-FREE, like freedom, 855-450-3733. We're launching here to more content, including your calls and thoughts. If you want to make those calls, our number is 855-450-FREE, or Skype in at Skype username LRN.FM. Bitcoin.com. The Bitcoin price tumbled a little bit a few days ago, down from a high of as much as 17,000 US dollars, tumbling down to around 13,000 for a short time. It's now recovered back to about 15,000 US dollars per Bitcoin, and it still could very well be the early phase in this technological evolution that is cryptocurrency. That is to say, Bitcoin being the very first ever decentralized cryptocurrency. It's got that head start over its competition, and it is far and above over its next competitor, which is called Ethereum. And I think that Bitcoin's probably got about 5 times the market value of its first closest competitor. You can go to Bitcoin.com to learn about Bitcoin, get the basics on what it is, what makes it special, why decentralization matters, and why it's poised to cause a threat, a real serious threat to the old banking system and the governments of the world. It's very exciting from a libertarian perspective, but even if you're just into money, you're going to enjoy learning about Bitcoin.
Who's not into money?
Right. So go to Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com to learn more about that as we continue. Ian, Johnny Ray, and Mark in the studio. Mark, you were sharing with us news about Portugal, but we were talking about police alternatives. And Johnny Ray, you'd kind of brought up the old agorist plot. Agorism being the idea of kind of doing things outside of the government's purview, whether it be, starting your own business without asking for a license, or in this case, you were talking about the ultimate goal of the agorist, which is to essentially supplant by replacing through competition in a marketplace the existing government services. So,
I wasn't necessarily saying that.
No?
I was simply, that could be one way to go about it. But I think what would be more likely
Well, you said you wanted to get rid of the cops by out-competing them, didn't you?
No. The end result is that I want the current professionals in the police force to be working in the market.
The ones that really got in to actually help people, the ones that got in to actually stop bad guys, not the badge heavies who want to crack heads.
Right.
Those are the ones who you think would make it in the marketplace.
Yeah, but I think that that's something that could be done with the stroke of a pen more than than somebody creating out-competing.
Hold on, Johnny
someone.
Ray. Are you saying that the law needs to be changed? That somebody needs to, the governor needs to stroke a pen to abolish the government police force in order to allow the market to work?
I'm just saying that could be one way to go about it. And
Johnny Ray is turning over a new leaf here tonight, Mark. This, for listeners that don't know, Johnny Ray is against voting, against participating in the system whatsoever. So you want to see the system change, but you yourself are not willing to actually lift a finger towards moving ahead. Besides speaking on the airwaves and advocating for it, you're not willing to actually go to, let's say, the state house and testify in favor of abolishing the police.
I wouldn't be telling them anything they don't know.
Wait, who? The state representatives?
Yeah.
They don't know a lot of things, just so you know. I mean, the people...
They are remarkably ignorant.
Yeah, these people are the same people who for years have stood in the way of simple marijuana decriminalization because the police will come out every single time. The Police Chiefs Association will send its head boss man out there and just trot out same old lies about pot. Doesn't matter how many times and how many studies and how many doctors and how many former cops, like from Law Enforcement Against Prohibition, which is now known as Law Enforcement Action Partnership. But anyway, how many times these sensible persuasive, informed people who know what they're talking about when it comes to ending the war on drugs will come out and present to these state representatives, and they
little
just
old
ignore
ladies
it.
in wheelchairs begging to be allowed to use
guys,
to be able to use marijuana as pain reliever. Yeah, no. They just don't do
They
it.
finally did pass medical back in 2012, but it took them 4 years to actually implement it, and even then it's a pretty weak medical program compared to some of the other ones out there. So it's frustrating to try to have that system change. But here you are saying you think that might actually be a viable method?
That's just not the discussion I'm having right now. I'm just saying I have an end result that I think would be best, and I'm not really arguing how to get there.
Well, I agree with you. I think that's what I want to see, too. I want to see a competitive marketplace in protection services where people can hire the kind of level of protection that they feel comfortable with. Could be zero. Could be that they want to handle their own protection, take care of their own.
They'd probably get a certain amount of washover just from people who, have their own protection services in the same way that, if you were in an apartment complex and all of your neighbors were heating their apartments,
you'd benefit.
You would choose not to turn on your heat,
Yeah.
My big point is that I hate the cops, but I think there are wonderful men and women that are currently police officers.
That's an interesting thing to say.
They could be bad, they could be good, they could be virtuous, they could be vicious, but when they put on that uniform, they turn into a parasite.
Yeah, I do agree with you. I want to see that reality where I think one of the benefits of having a competitive marketplace in protection is that you can actually choose for the first time how to allocate your resources to these organizations or not to them.
I think there are a lot of scumbags who are currently with the police force, and they're getting some of the virtue from those wonderful men and women is rubbing off on them. Guys who wouldn't survive in the market, they have a place in the police now that I don't think they would have in the
Correct. Now they're protected. Now they circle the wagons around all of their blue brothers, no matter how offensive of an act they may have committed in most cases, unless they get caught raping a child or something like that, as one of them did here, a police chief in New Hampshire did. Finally went to prison for that one. But, it's very hard to get them to feel any kind of consequences for most of their horrifying acts that they commit. And that's, as I was pointing out before, because you're always forced to pay for it. And if there were a market actor who had abusive people working for them, then people would not be forced to hire those people. They would be able to boycott them. They would be able to put the word out about them. And more so, if there was a protection agency that went around doing poor investigations and arresting the wrong people for crimes that they didn't commit, then those people would be the people doing the arresting in that case would be fully liable for kidnapping and holding people against their will who are innocent, and they should be punished for that by the marketplace as well. But now, when the police do things like put the wrong person in prison, usually it takes several years to get a case overturned, and by that time, there's no consequence for the officer or the prosecutor in that case.
At this point in America, one prosecutor, as I understand it, one prosecutor has been prosecuted for knowingly putting an innocent person in prison.
Despite hundreds of people being let off from death row.
Well, I think that it's fair to say that about 15% of people who are in prison are probably entirely innocent. It's not a huge number or anything like that, but 15% it's a big problem if you're that 15%, especially when you consider how many millions of people are in prison in the U.S.
Let's continue with more. You can share your thoughts with us. We can get back into what's happening in Portugal, or what has been happening for the last 16 years and coming up on 17 years here very soon. The ultimate success, the tremendous success that they've had with basically ending a good chunk of the war on drugs by no longer putting people in prison who get caught with personal amounts of any drug and treating it more as an addiction problem, more as something that needs to be treated or should be treated. Now, I don't agree with forced treatment either. There's more coming up here. It's Free Talk Live.
Guys, wouldn't your wife or girlfriend love it if you treated her to the very best this Christmas? Well, you can, and you don't even have to go out of your way. We're talking about the world's softest pajamas, available exclusively at Pajamagram.com. That's Pajamagram.com. Created by a team of dedicated pajama experts, the world's softest pajamas are lighter than a cloud, softer than a bunny, like cashmere, only better. She'll love the way the world's softest pajamas feel, and you'll love the way they look. More than a gift, they're a feeling, an invitation to relax a little longer. The world's softest pajamas are available only at pajamagram.com. Visit today and give her a gift that keeps on giving to both of you. Plus, you don't even have to wrap because every Pajamagram includes free gift packaging and Christmas delivery is guaranteed. So visit pajamagram.com or call 1-800-GIVE-PJs.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com. What do you shop for that you could otherwise buy at Amazon? Pretty much everything, right? Amazon has competitive pricing and they deliver, and that's a big plus. If you could plan ahead in your shopping, would you be interested in saving up to 33%? There's a catch. You have to do your shopping in Bitcoin. But imagine those savings. It's like a huge raise. All you have to do is go to saveitpurse.com. We've saved thousands, and you can too. Plan ahead and save. Saveitpurse.com. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. Dial toll-free to bring up whatever you want. Our number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. It's 855-450-3733. We've got Skype as well. You may Skype into the show and join us at Skype username LRN.FM. With you in the studio tonight, you've got me, Ian.
Me, Johnny Ray.
And me, Mark.
We are talking about the war on drugs and how when you actually roll it back, as they did in Portugal back in 2001 with the basically across-the-board decriminalization for small amounts of any drug for personal possession, they had tremendous results and continue to have tremendous results that have resulted in more people not getting addicted in the first place, those who were addicted actually getting the help that they needed to get unaddicted from drugs. And Mark, there was more that you wanted to share from the story over at theguardian.com about this. So go ahead.
Yeah, so they're talking about how the opioid crisis soon stabilized. The ensuing years saw dramatic drops in problematic drug use, HIV and hepatitis infection rates, overdose deaths, drug-related crime and incarceration rates. And then they go on to say HIV infection plummeted from an all-time high in 2000 of 104.2 new cases per million to 4.2 cases per million in 2015. So that's
huge.
This isn't cutting it in half. This isn't a quarter. This is something like
95%.
Yeah, cutting more than like 96. Maybe 90, getting close to 97% of new AIDS cases cut. Now, AIDS cases have diminished anyway, over time. But this is really a big drop.
Yeah.
The data behind these changes has been studied and cited as evidenced by harm reduction movements around the globe. It's misleading, however, to credit those positive results entirely to a change in law. Portugal's remarkable recovery, and in fact, that it held steadily through several changes in government, including conservative leaders who would have preferred to return to the U.S.-style war on drugs, could not have happened without an enormous cultural shift and a change in how the country viewed drugs, addiction, and itself. In many ways, the law was merely a reflection of transformations that were already happening in clinics and pharmacies and around kitchen tables across the country. The official policy of decriminalization made it far easier for a broad range of services, health, psychiatry, employment, housing, etc., that had been struggling to pool their resources and expertise to work together more effectively to serve their communities. The language began
Because they could work together above board. They could work together without having to hide that they were trying to assist drug-using clients or whatever.
Right. It was people have a pretty low opinion of addicts, but I'd say that now with the opioid crisis and people who were, at one point on pain medication, now becoming addicted to fentanyl or whatever it is that they're addicted to, people are seeing it more often, and it's not quite as stigmatized as it was, say, in the 80s with crack cocaine. Does that make sense?
I don't know. I don't much care for drug addicts myself, but I've known a few of them who I do care about, and it's hard. It's hard to watch somebody go through something like that. I don't think that punishing people with a jail cell is the right way to influence them, unless that's what they want. If somebody says, "I think I would be better off if you would just go ahead and throw me in a cage," then go and enjoy your cage if that's what you want. But don't force that style of punishment on everybody, because, as you were pointing out before, it, in a lot of cases, can bring people into circumstances that they otherwise wouldn't have been in, like, getting to meet more criminals. And anyway, go ahead.
No. I'm sorry, Mark. Your rights are inalienable. You can't voluntarily give them up. You can't.
You could tell somebody, "I want you to be my keeper," and put me in a prison cell. There's people that check themselves into clinics where they're not allowed to leave.
Well, what Johnny Ray's saying is that you can change your mind, right?
I don't know what the rules are when it comes to that.
Well, this is where it gets hairy. I'm talking about it from a rights standpoint. That's what Johnny Ray's talking about. Here is that so the notion is that you cannot give up your rights because you may change your mind.
Yeah.
So
I see what you're saying.
I said, "Ian, I'd like to be your slave," this will never happen, so you don't have to prepare for this.
I wasn't expecting it or looking forward to it.
But I will have my larynx removed and become your slave. That might be a little better, because then
then you can't complain about it,
right? Because then I could write things down, but you wouldn't have to necessarily read them.
All right, I'm being persuaded.
Right. So that at some point, I am likely to change this whole being Ian's slave thing. Yeah. This isn't great. I have to clean up the floors and all these things that I don't want to do. I don't want to do this anymore. I'd like to not be his slave. At what point can you change this? Because I would say that
contracts can be written pretty tight, right? I mean, you can opt yourself into all kinds of things that you regret later.
Sure. I mean, the military is a great example. The United States military, although it won't let you sign a gym membership for more than 3 years, will let you sign up to essentially be a, I don't know, serf, slave. It's
a pawn.
you figure out the term, but bullet catcher for 4 years, right?
Sure.
Or
8 years, isn't it? 4, and then you got to be off.
It's actually 8 years because it's always 8 years. In some cases, it's 4 years with 4 years inactive ready reserve, or 2 years with 2 years inactive ready reserve, or some period of time and maybe the regular reserves, whatever it might be. So yeah, they'll let you sign an 8-year contract if you want to work for the government, and you can't get out of it. Getting out of it is very, very difficult. So
I think it's important to have, in most contracts for business, a way out. I think that it's important to write those things into contracts. Yeah. It helps.
But should you be able to contract to stay someplace for some period of time
without being able to change your mind?
Right.
I think you should be able to.
Right. And that's the question I would ask to Johnny Ray here and people who believe in this Rothbardian thought that you're purporting here.
No, I honestly, I haven't given it a great deal of thought. But,
I know. This is the tough question, and I can't answer it.
But if I were to sell myself into permanent slavery, then I think that it would be within my rights to, and I did it for $100, and I was never able to even raise, and it was impossible for me to buy myself out, even if that were an option. But let's say that not even that, I think that I would be justified in walking away from the contract because of rights theory, because
would you
freedom
argue
from imprisonment is inalienable.
Right. It's freedom from imprisonment against your own will, as long as you haven't done anything to harm another person. I don't think there's anything wrong with with restricting the movement of somebody who's a psychopath who's going around and murdering people. But we're talking about signing away your own right to choose. And why somebody would do that? Would you be arguing that you were not in your right mind when you signed that contract, that you did not realize what you were doing, maybe you were drugged up or something like that?
Whatever the reason, I just believe that it would be invalid because you would be signing away rights that are inalienable.
So let me ask you this. So slavery is the delivery of services, right? For essentially no money, some kind of recompense in this circumstance, because you'd obviously be signing the contract for something. But we're calling it slavery just to make it as bad as possible.
I think what defines it is the fact that you're not the one who chooses the terms. Yeah, you don't choose.
But the argument here is
that
you
can't get out.
But the argument here is that you did choose. So,
but you can't choose to get out.
What about like a debt situation where you've signed an agreement that if you go into debt, you will work off that debt on some debt plantation or whatever?
If you renege on that particular on the particulars of any contract you make, there can be consequences, but they can't include imprisonment or death.
Even
Let me
if
ask
you've
you
signed
this.
it.
Yes.
Yeah. So what if I say that I'm going to provide you a cell phone service for the next 3 years if you give me $500 right now? And then I just decide about a year into this, I don't like this whole arrangement of getting this $500 a year ago and then providing this cell phone service.
I think that in a market society, you'd be put on a naughty list, and then people would be less likely to do business with you in the future.
A credit hit?
Something like that.
Let's continue. Can you sign away your own rights? Toll-free number is 855-450-FREE.
Whether you share content as a curator or produce it as a creator, the source of your advertising revenue is often limited by intermediaries like YouTube. What if there was a way to connect content creators directly with advertisers, decentralizing attention-based market advertising transactions and putting the control back into the hands of content owners? Introducing the revolutionary Signal Token Protocol by Spective VR. Partnered with Blend Media, the largest network of 360 video content in the world, and featured on Fox Business's Innovations, Spective VR is a 360 VR streaming platform created to be the first use case and early adopter of the Signal Token Protocol, driving real use and allowing Spective to optimize their platform. SpectiveVR.com is hosting a pre-ICO for Signal tokens starting December 8th at a 40% bonus. For early access to the token sale and an exclusive 60% token bonus, sign up for the email list at SpectiveVR.com.
Guys, wouldn't your wife or girlfriend love it if you treated her to the very best this Christmas? Well, you can, and you don't even have to go out of your way. We're talking about the world's softest pajamas, available exclusively at pajamagram.com. That's pajamagram.com. Created by a team of dedicated pajama experts, the world's softest pajamas are lighter than a cloud, softer than a bunny, like cashmere, only better. She'll love the way the world's softest pajamas feel, and you'll love the way they look. More than a gift, they're a feeling, an invitation to relax a little longer. The world's softest pajamas are available only at pajamagram.com. Visit today and give her a gift that keeps on giving, to both of you. Plus, you don't even have to wrap, because every Pajamagram includes free gift packaging, and Christmas delivery is guaranteed. So visit pajamagram.com or call 1-800-GIVE-PJs.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free, at apps.lrn.fm. Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live, dial in, toll free, bring up what you want. Our number here is 855-450-FREE like freedom. 855-450-3733. We do have Skype. And if you want to Skype into the show, you can do that at Skype username lrn.fm. Here tonight, it's Ian,
Johnny Ray,
and Mark.
So we were talking about the question of whether or not you could sign away your rights to exit a contract, meaning that you sign yourself into slavery? Because again, as you were talking about before, or we were discussing before, typically slavery is something you're put into without your consent. But in this case, you would have given your consent. Indentured servitude would have been one way this was done in the past. But Johnny Ray, you say you cannot do that. You cannot, by your version of human rights theory, you say it is an impossibility to be able to withdraw one's rights or to give away one's rights in a contract. And I'm not so sure I believe you on that. Because doesn't that restrict your right to give away your rights? Shouldn't you have the right to sell your rights? Or
this is the equivalent of the question given to Christians: can God create a rock so large that He cannot move it? If you have liberty, do you have liberty to give up your liberty?
I say you do.
And this is. I
think it's problematic. It can be very problematic.
It can be very, very problematic.
Because how do you prove that you were within your right mind at a time when you made such a momentous decision? I mean, this is one of the most crazy, important decisions you would make would be to sign away your right to freedom.
I think this is one of those situations where you will find an arbitrator deciding, the arbitrators deciding what, coming to some conclusion, a la English common law, as to what is acceptable for a period of time and what isn't. Can I? One thing is clear is I can accept money to do away with my volition and work at a job, right? So I can work at a job for a week and accept a paycheck at the end of the week, and nobody's arguing that.
Sure.
That's
But you
pay
can
at the
quit.
end, not pay in the beginning.
Yeah, but you can quit that job.
You can choose not to go to the job. That much is true. But if you're going to get the money, then that's how you're going to do it. So the question is can I take money to work for a week? Can I get the money ahead of time to go work for a week? Or can I have that money sent to my mother and then work for the week? And all those things, people would say, clearly that's the case. But, then can I do it for a month?
It depends.
Can I do it for a
someone
quarter?
who's willing to agree to that?
Can I do it for a year?
Yeah.
If I can do it for a year, can I do it for 10? And it just keeps
Johnny
on going
Ray,
up
what do
from
you
there.
say to that?
I'm sorry, 10. You agree to
He gets the money up front, and then therefore has to. So mom's sick. Mom needs a cancer treatment or something like that, and you're willing to go ahead and work on a farm for throwing watermelons or whatever, picking cantaloupes, but you want to get all the money up front, and then you are indentured for that months-long period of time. Can you do that in Johnny Ray's theory of human rights?
No, because you're selling something that you don't have.
Well, I mean, certainly you could die of a heart attack in between the month time frame, and then that person would be out whatever they paid. They don't have somebody to work for them for the other 2 weeks.
That's the risk that they would take.
That's the risk they would take, right.
But, so what you're saying, Johnny Ray, is that I can give my labor in the hopes of getting paid, but I can't get paid and then make an employer get into the situation that he hopes to get my labor. You're not allowing me to turn that transaction on its head.
I'm not sure if I'm understanding the question, but the employer is not allowed to violate your rights.
It's not a violation of your rights if you've given
if you can sell them.
Up. So what he's saying is, in a typical employee-employer relationship, you get paid at the end of 2 weeks, right? You work, you get a paycheck,
right?
Which means that you're trusting that the employer isn't going to go belly up within that time frame, go completely out of business, take the money and run, or take whatever they've earned off of your labor in that time frame and then run and close up shop, and you have no way of getting anything out of them because they're gone.
Okay.
So you're able to do that. You're able to work for that employer, meaning that the employer's on the hook for the payment at the end, but you're not allowed to get the payment from the employer up front and then work for however many weeks you've contracted to work for.
Yeah, so sure, you could take 10 years worth of pay up front.
Okay.
And if you reneged on the deal, you couldn't be imprisoned or killed for it. You'd be put on a naughty list or something like that.
Well, let me ask you this. So there are jobs that look a lot like prison. Let's use a roughneck on an oil derrick out in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico. Okay,
you can't really leave.
You're not leaving. As a roughneck who has taken, you've said 10 years at this point, 10 years pay in exchange for 10 years on an oil derrick. I must be a very good roughneck at this point if they want to do this.
Bruce Willis caliber.
Yeah, that's right. I'm a Bruce Willis roughneck. And I decide at 5 years I'd like to not do this, and they say sure. Go ahead, we'll ding your credit, and you can swim back to Louisiana.
Well, if you coughed up the 5 years worth of money right then, I would think it'd be okay for the most part. Like, that would be a way of getting out of that.
There's going to be a penalty, too, an early early signing penalty. And
No,
what if you don't have the money?
But what if you don't have the money?
It is not a violation of someone's rights to not provide them transportation off the oil derrick.
So you would not have to provide them transportation?
No, you would not.
So they can't really leave?
No, they can't.
Okay. So all they're going to do is have these jobs for people who...
They can leave.
They can't leave.
They can swim.
Yeah.
Let's go to David. He's on the line in New Mexico on Skype. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, well, if I'm on that rig, I'm whipping out my cell phone, and I'm calling my own helicopter, and he'll come and pick me up, so I got no problem.
That's if you have cell phone service.
Use some of that, right.
Yeah, well, I would be sure to have carried a satellite phone with me.
All right.
So that I can call from anywhere in the world. But anyway, thought on what you've been talking about tonight and last night, because they kind of rolled together. First of all, because you're talking about it, there is a concept at least I have this concept where you can't necessarily do everything, like sell yourself into slavery that you think you have a right to do if it does actually violate the rights of me and everybody else in society. If you're doing something, and I won't go into the specifics, but I'll just leave it as a concept. I believe that concept is valid. As for the other things you're talking about, here's one, for instance. In Albuquerque last night, I was in Walmart, and I was coming out of the restroom, and an old guy that was in the restroom came out behind me, and he just started talking to me. He was a homeless guy, and he had been a military veteran, and he had ended up in prison for quite a number of years, and now he's homeless for many of those combined reasons. And as people often do, for some reason they can perceive that I'll listen to. He just started talking to me, and I just listened to him for as long as he wanted it or needed it, which is like 15 minutes. And at the end, he thanked me for listening to him. One of the things that he told me, though, is that he said that he volunteered that he hadn't had a good night's sleep in 6 weeks. Why? Because virtually every night, well, I guess every night, if he hadn't had a good night's sleep in 6 weeks, he described to me how every night the cops woke him up in the middle of the night, violently, and moved him on. And so, and this is basically a professional homeless guy. So wherever he's able to find himself a place to hide, the cops are finding him and doing that to him. And guess what? It's a human right to sleep, no matter where you are, no matter what the situation is, once every 24 hours.
Well, you don't get to sleep on my front porch unless you have permission.
He wasn't on your front porch. He was
that's
out in
my
public.
question. We don't know where the guy was, right? Like if he.
Well, I do know where he was. He's out. He's out in public, in the city of Albuquerque, not necessarily on anybody's private property. And he's obviously, the reason he's in Albuquerque is because he needs to stay alive. He can't just necessarily go out on the mountain or out in the desert and survive, because not everybody has the skills to do that. So he's attached to civilization, and he doesn't have the money to buy what everybody else considers a formal place to live, an acceptable place to live. But he still has a human right to sleep. Okay, he doesn't have to stay awake 24 hours just because you made a law. And I'm talking to the police. I'm not lecturing you guys.
To me, I don't care if there's a bunch of homeless people living out in the woods on somebody's property, as long as they've got permission to be there. And it's when the police come around and start messing with these folks, when they absolutely do have permission, is when I really start to get upset about it. And we've seen it happen here. Thank you for the call, David. And we've seen it happen here in Keene, New Hampshire. There's a shopping center where there's a large wooded area behind it. In fact, you used to work at this shopping center, Johnny Ray. And behind that shopping center, the property owner of the shopping center in the wooded area.
It's like a wetland.
Yeah, a swamp,
and with lots of trails crisscrossing it.
Yeah, and they have there was a homeless camp out there, and I think it's still, maybe it's moved a bit, but it's still there. But the government has targeted it on multiple occasions, coming after these people, even though the private property owner has said it's fine with him that they camp out there. They're fine. Leave them alone. It's better if they're on this wooded area, hanging out and drinking or whatever it is that they do there, going to sleep, cooking out over a campfire. It's better if they're there than roaming around the streets of downtown Keene and sleeping in alleyways and peeing on people's buildings. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. You can join us coming up here. Economics in one lesson. We got to talk about inflation coming up. This is Free Talk Live.
It's about time something new came along for better selling and buying online. And I found it.
What now, Marge?
It's buysellmakeoffer.com.
Never heard of it.
It's a brand new company. That's why you've never heard of it. It's the newest and best way to sell any products online. I did all the research.
Sell my car?
Yes.
Our home?
Yep.
My golf bag?
Your golf clubs. All of them.
How about your purse collection hoard?
Hey, now.
You said any product.
Right. I did. We get 30 days free.
Really?
Packages starting from only $9.95. And buysellmakeoffer.com will never charge item fees, ever. Never. And this is cool. Listen to this. You can even use Skype or video to show your items.
That's cool.
Yes. All we have to do is go to the website, sign up, and then load our stuff to sell. I love this site.
Buysellmakeoffer.com.
Buysellmakeoffer.com. You got it?
Buysellmakeoffer.com.
Buysellmakeoffer.com. Better selling, better buying.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you're helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and one with just the Edgington Post. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Friday, December 8th, 2017. Silver is trading at $15.76 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,249 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at 7 cents, and the average price of Bitcoin is $16,804. Antiwar.com reports that Saudi warplanes continue to pound the Yemeni capital city of Sana'a at an increased rate on Thursday, while operations on the ground appear to have shifted southwest, with pro-Saudi forces attacking coastal areas held by the Shiite Houthi movement. Reports out of the Quqqa district on the Red Sea coast of Yemen say that pro-Saudi forces have more or less entirely captured the area, which includes a town and a small fishing port. At least 25 were killed in the fighting. The district itself is of limited value, but the push is in keeping with Saudi-led efforts to conquer as much of the Yemeni coast as possible to ensure that shipments of food and medicine into the country are done more or less exclusively under their control. Fishing ports notwithstanding, the Houthi movement has only a single port at Hodeidah, which would need food and medicine imports for 15 million people in northern Yemen. A Saudi blockade, however, allows a tiny fraction of that in. For over 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. And as a Bitcoin-preferred business, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts Brokerage today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports Congress passed a short-term spending bill Thursday to prevent a government shutdown as Republicans attempt to reach a budget bill with Democrats by the end of the year. Senators approved the bill by a vote of 81-14 an hour after the House passed it on a vote of 235-193, keeping the federal government open through December 22nd. Representative Mike Simpson of Idaho said a vote against the resolution is a vote to shut down the government, while admitting a short-term funding measure is not ideal. President Donald Trump met with Speaker Paul Ryan of Wisconsin, Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell of Kentucky, House Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi of California, and Senate Democrat leader Chuck Schumer of New York in hopes of pushing forward negotiations on a 2-year budget deal. Pelosi and other Democrats have stressed including deportation relief for Dreamers, recipients of the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrival program, in their negotiations. She said, "We will not leave here without a DACA fix." Trump was expected to encourage congressional leaders to keep anything related to DACA out of a budget negotiation while pushing to increase defense spending without boosting non-defense funding and convince Democrats to agree to his border wall. Trump said, "We hope that we're going to make some great progress for our country. I think this will happen." 2 Florida Republicans said they would vote against any year-end spending bill that did not include an immigration deal. Schumer said those demands were unlikely and a shutdown would reflect poorly on Trump and Republicans. Bitcoin Not Bombs is a launching pad for nonprofits and social entrepreneurs into the financial freedom of the Bitcoin economy. Bitcoin Not Bombs offers premium publicity campaigns designed to facilitate an organization's adoption of Bitcoin as a payment system and to fully capitalize on that decision in their fundraising efforts. Bitcoin Not Bombs is fully committed to being the hub of the nonprofit sector of the Bitcoin economy, maximizing the potential cross-promotion of all our clients and commercial partners. To learn more, visit bitcoin.bombs.com.